What's up, everyone? Thunderbob here, and I am continuing my journey through Diablo 2 Resurrected. This is my Battle.net character. This is a Meteorb Sorceress. I am pretty close to going into Hell difficulty. I'm kind of just trying to find some last items to kind of put me over the edge there. I'm up to level 68 at this point. I did some group runs to kind of power level through some of the slower levels here, solo play. I didn't find a lot doing that just because when you're in a group, people grab up those items so quickly. So I'm gonna go back and do some grinding for some gear here. I'm gonna do some farming. I'm gonna show you kind of my rotation. I get bored running the same thing over and over again sometimes, so I like to have like a good amount of different places I can go to. So I'm gonna walk through some of my favorite places in Nightmare to farm and what to look for in those zones, reasons why you might run them. And I'm just going to show you where I'm at. I've got my spirit, I've got the lore helm, stealth. I made a rhyme for the magic find, really. Some life and magic find here, just a resist ring. Got 3 pieces of Saigon. I found some better stuff, but this is giving me magic find at the moment. I don't have anything better that also gives me magic find, and I'm not having too much difficulty with survivability, so I'm just running this. And then the best thing, I got an eagle ring. I did find Vampire Gaze, which doesn't help me much, but it helps my mercenary quite a bit. I made Insight, which is definitely helping with my mana at this point, and Venom Ward, just haven't found anything better for him yet. So, we're going to go through kind of multiple acts. In Act 1, I usually go to Stony Field and then go to Tristram to get Wirt's Leg if I want to run cows, and also Tristram just has a lot of unique enemies. I go to Black Marsh and do the Countess if I'm doing runs to look for runes in particular. Do Andy because I bugged her and her drops are pretty good, though in Act 1 Nightmare you're going to be limited in what you can get. I usually skip Act 2, I don't usually in Nightmare do much running. Act 3, Travincal is not bad. A couple of unique guys there right by the entrance. Durance, I usually go here for Mephisto. River of Flames, you're going to do Chaos runs. And finally, Act 5, you're going to do Baal. So I'm just going to quickly go through these areas. And generally, I'm just teleporting. And a lot of time you'll see, I'm going to back up here, the portal on your minimap before you actually see the Karen stones. So just something to keep an eye out for when you're teleporting. Yeah, just crashed. Okay. And really, I'm looking for any champions or named uniques. There's usually a couple in the middle, and there's usually one down south along with Griswold, which usually doesn't drop much, but I usually kill him real quick. And then if I'm doing cows, I'll come and I'll grab Bert's leg here. Make sure if there's one. Sometimes there's one over here. Yep. Right.
Greetings.
Just gonna drop that in the cube. And look at that later. Or go to the Countess. Looking for some like low level gear to pass off to friends. Kind of a weird layout. If I find any uniques along the way, I'll usually just burn them down real quick. I was doing this earlier, really, when I was still gaining experience. So, like, this is not as useful as you get closer to 70 and closer to moving into Hell difficulty. You probably will be transitioning more to Mephisto, more into Baal, more into some of those later areas, cows as well. Countess is good to run when you need particular runes. Like, I really needed a soul rune for that insight. I couldn't find one no matter what. So I did a bunch of Countess runs and finally came across it. Also, it's almost always along the left wall for Countess. So, like, when you enter the area, look at the way you're oriented. Right, left. So if you follow the left wall and just keep going around, that's usually the way for Countess. It's different in each zone. I've got a cheat sheet. I'll link it in the video in the comments below. Um, but there's almost always like an optimal pathway for most of these zones. And that Ithrune has made me, or that not the Ithrune, the insight on my mercenary has made me almost independent of mana potions. I'm pretty close, but every so often I still need to pop one. I feel like I run into that issue where I click off screen a lot more than I used to. I don't know if they changed something, but I feel like in classic Diablo client, I didn't have that issue as much. And at this point, I've got enough points into Fireball where it is actually doing probably more damage than Orb. But in Nightmare, Orb's awesome because it hits so much of the screen. Even though it's not doing as much damage, like it hits everything, and I'm already doing probably more damage than I need to in a lot of cases. So I think Orb is like the best Nightmare skill in the game. Like when you're leveling, it's just so fast. If you watch that Nightmare run, I went through all of Nightmare in like 2 hours without even rushing that hard, and just murdered everything. I think that's my second. Is that Inferno Stride? Yeah. Nice. Some good fire resist for going into hell difficulty. I get too excited. I end up identifying stuff while I'm out there, even though, you know, like it's kind of a waste. Let's see, I had Rite of Passage, Goblin Toe. Why did I think I had Inferno Stride already? But these are pretty awesome for high fire resists. A lot of Blessed Hammer Paladins, I've noticed, use these for running Chaos Sanctuary. Yeah, we'll just put these away for the moment. Tinkered Skull. And Arctic Binding. I'm just kind of holding on to sets for lower level characters. Gonna clean that up a little later. I actually already cleaned up once, and it kind of got out of control again. So I'm gonna go to Endurance of Hate. This is another area where it is normally to the left if you follow the zone. Today? Okay. And back in the day, I ran Mephisto a whole lot. Like, this is maybe the area I have the most experience running. And there we need a little bit of potions to keep us going. This is not a good layout at all. The nice thing is if you're playing single player, you get like one good layout, and you can just indefinitely run that same layout as long as you don't reset it. But in multiplayer, it resets every single time, unfortunately. Yeah, so that was like the worst possible layout. Yay me. My mercenary is a little bit more able to handle himself now, but he still takes a good amount of damage. Did not drop anything. Awesome. Burn. burn him down as much as I can, and then I'm gonna back off. And usually I'll like alternate between my fireball and my frozen orb. And I ran out of potions to give my merc. Oh well. It's only gold. Staber, I don't even remember what that one is. We'll go to Act 4 and do the Chaos Sanctuary after I get my mana battery back.
Hail to you, champion.
Looking for claws with running skills. Interesting. That's actually not too bad for level 30. Looking for claws with traps because I kind of want to make a trapper later. Sell it. It's not worth holding on to. You know what, actually? Nah. It's gone. Not worrying about it. This area is a little bit more dangerous, but the drops are considerably better than you're going to find in, like, you know, Andariel. And this is a little bit harder if you're running a single spec, because there are immunities even in Nightmare. So, like, if I didn't have Fireball and Frozen Orb at a decent pace here, it would be a little bit more difficult. Though I would be dealing a lot more damage if I went like straight Blizzard or straight Fire. But the trade-off is there's certain things you just can't kill with one or the other. They pick up. And I could just teleport right to the seals. I actually like to clear chaos. The density of the monsters here is really nice. It kind of reminds me of doing like cows, where you get enough like white items and you get enough kind of base items to make it worthwhile. Like that's one of the best reasons to run cows is if you're looking for bases for rune words. You get a ton of white items there just because of the density and the number of non-unique enemies.
I can't carry anymore.
The battle site. Ain't even gonna bother. I feel like I'm really just looking for a couple of plus skill items and a little bit better resists. Even something like an Aki or some of the Tal set you could get in Nightmare. Seeing if I had another base for another spirit. And this is another good zone, like if you're trying to do a little bit of leveling while you're farming. the monster density and the number of unique packs gives you a decent experience, and the fact that it's a little bit later zone. But where I'm at 60, 68, the experience here really isn't enough to make leveling here very fun. Even a like player 8 game, I'd probably be doing ball runs exclusively by this point. Don't kill my every time. Mana battery is dead. Man, why are you doing just the lightning? Very useful. But we'll grab you. Because I like set items.
Impossible.
Okay. Let's go do ball, and then we'll do cows. I wouldn't necessarily do all of these things in a single run. But kind of just showing all of the different areas I might go to. I'll usually pick a couple of these depending on what I'm doing. If I need runes exclusively, I'm going to do, you know, Countess almost exclusively. If I need, you know, experience plus items, I might do, you know, cows and Baal and maybe Chaos Sanctuary. If I'm looking for just items, probably, you know, Mephisto would be a good point just because you can run it so quickly. Not terrible for a low level space. Javazon, which I want to make later. So I'm kind of picking up like leveling gear, and I'll make a Javazon, and I'll just drop that onto her. And then if I don't need it later, you know, I'll sell it. But if I haven't found something better, when I get that character up to that level, I'll have it. You know what? I should go get my little buddy first.
Yes? What is it?
And I'm not saying this is all of the zones in the game you can farm in. In Nightmare, you know, there's fewer reasons to go to like ancient tunnels or some of those like in hell difficulty the PC 87 areas. I feel like in Nightmare, it's not worth like seeking out, and I go more for like the bosses in particular. Alright, pull back before you die. I don't have much trouble with survivability myself, but my mercenary is a little bit lower level still. And even with a good amount of life leech, he's got 8%. And he's doing a little bit more damage with that insight now. He's not surviving so great. I could really use the elite version of that insight. And this is another area that's hard to solo if you don't have a hybrid, because there are almost always going to be some that are cold immune, some that are fire immune, some that are lightning immune. And your mercenary can help a long way, but it just gets kind of frustrating if you can't do anything to him. Pick up these wands because almost always they have plus skills out, probably 35,000 right there. Be a gamble on some bracers or boots or something. Trying to stay out of the line of sight of all the hydras so I don't lose my merc again. Alright, battles. God, merc. What was that? I can't remember. It's not bad for a level 11, but I'm not probably gonna level another fire character anytime soon. It's a little bit harder without a merc. But not too hard. And there's 69. When I'm under geared, I like to get a little bit higher before I move forward. Like 70 would probably be the target I'd go for.
I need mana. Not enough mana.
I remember hating these guys so much when I was younger. I played this when it came out. And for whatever reason, me and my friends, this would always kill our performance. I think they patched it later, but I remember like when it first came out, it was like you'd spawn Lister, and the game would just freeze up for 45 seconds or something. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it was 15 seconds, but it was enough that like you had to spawn them and then run away. I think it had something to do with data loading off the disk, because the drive would spin up whenever it happened.
I need mana.
Alright.
I need mana.
Generally, you want to try to take as much health away from him with your static shock if you're running a Sorceress as you can. I don't have any health potions left. Alright. And kind of garbage again, unless these are particularly good. I love the change that you can kill the king and keep doing cows. It's one of my favorite changes. Frozen Orb does okay here. I don't have enough plus skills to really benefit enough. If I had like +5 more, I'd be burning through this. Best is to like get as many as you can together though, because of the way your AoE kind of stacks. But unfortunately your orb doesn't go through those walls very well, so you kind of gotta position. Get a pretty good amount of extra gold find. Oop, I misclicked. He's gonna die from that aura. I just know it. We slow guys pretty well between the two of us. But he's still taking a lot of damage. See anything? I have not had very good luck today. Yesterday I feel like I had pretty great luck. Got like the soul right when I needed it. Got insight put together, got lore put together. Actually, lore was 2 days ago, 3 days ago. But I got my insight finally put together. I didn't play much yesterday, actually. Maybe played for 45 minutes. I had played like every night since release, and I wanted to have a night with the wife. And I'll probably do that again tomorrow night. I usually pick up things to see if they might make a good base. I've got everything to make a couple of insights, a couple of spirits. I just need the bases for them. Yeah, there's another soul. I so badly needed that 2 days ago. That was also pretty good for finding not just rune word bases, but rune words, because of the kind of way they drop. Um, Magic Find doesn't really help with runes, is my understanding, and your chance to get them from like regular mobs is actually not too bad. So killing a lot of enemies is a good way to see runes, just from like the sheer numbers of them. You want to have that sphere explode around as many of these guys as you can. Now, cows is not necessarily going to be worth it for some builds. You know, if you're running something that is better at single target, you know, you're running Smite or you're running, you know, a Zealot or Fury Druid or something, I would probably exclusively recommend doing like more boss runs when you're solo. Just because, you know, killing a ton of weak enemies is much easier with AoE than it is with something like that.
I am overburdened.
So think about your build, think about what you're targeting, what you're farming. There's almost always areas that are best for your build, and I'll be going in more of that when I do like my hell videos on this character. I've got a cheat sheet that goes into detail on where, what resists are in what zones, basically. And it's very useful for targeting, you know, particular enemies that, particular areas that don't have enemies that are resistant to your damage type. The Cow King! Mostly just pick those up because they sell for a decent amount of gold. Please ignore my terrible teleporting tonight. You want to get as many guys as you can when you're doing any kind of AoE attacks. And just from these runs, I got the last bit of that 68 to 69, and I'm almost halfway to 70. So you can certainly level up in player 1 games doing farming runs like this. It's certainly possible, and if you're really just looking for gear, it's probably better than jumping into an 8-player ball game when because unless you have some very quick click fingers, you might not pick up anything going from 50 to 70 doing those 8-player games.
I can't carry anymore.
I think this run is almost done. If there's any areas I skipped over, any areas I should be checking out, let me know. Certainly, I'm always open to suggestions or thoughts on my playstyle, my builds, whatever. Critique away. And if you enjoy this video, if you like what I'm putting together, if you would consider subscribing, I would very much appreciate it. Lets me know that there are people out there watching and enjoying what I put together. And thank you again for watching, everyone, and have a good night.